Have you seen this? Have you heard about this? There's a lot of shit floating around the internet about these giant steers. All right, so there's these giant fucking...
I think it's just one giant steer. You keep making it sound like there's multiple giant steers, like forming this coalition of steers. But there's really just one steer, man.
No. There's one, but we didn't hit the other one up. There's another one. All right, so there's this giant fucking steer named Knickers who lives in Australia, who is in charge of the herd of cows that are soon going to be that you will soon meet at your local Five Guys, but you won't meet Knickers because he's too big to become a hamburger. All right. Apparently, he's just too gigantic to fit into the processing machines or however that goes. They don't have a bolt big enough for the back of his head or whatever they do. They can't kill Knickers in an efficient way. So they just let him live, and he's fucking like 4 times the size of these regular cows. And he's basically just in charge. He's the security, and he's also kind of the leader of them. And he's showing them the ropes on the farm, for their brief stay at least.
I told you before, man. He looks delicious.
He does look delicious. It's like you wonder if one of those asshole fucking like dentists from Minnesota is gonna fly to Australia with a gigantic elephant gun and just try and sneak onto that farm and fucking kill Knickers. Because he's some sort of fucking trophy. Like those assholes that are trying to buy that white lion so they can kill it. What a bunch of sick fucks. I get it. We're joking around talking about these cows turning into hamburgers. So,
there's no sport, though. A lot of times what these guys do, though, there's really no sport. Like, I guess if you're out in the wild and you got a bow and arrow and you're chasing like an elk and you got to kill the fucking thing and then drag it like 8 miles back to camp, that's kind of like you earn the right to eat that thing. But if I'm paying some dude $1,000 just to shoot an animal from about 100 yards with like a sniper rifle, just dome it, and then they're going to carry it and clean it for me, and then I'm going to take a Polaroid and kind of show off to my friends on Instagram that I killed this animal. I think it's kind of stupid, man. I don't know. I'm not an animal lover.
You're just an asshole at that point, man. Like, you're just a fucking asshole.
There's no game to it, man. It's just lame.
There's this old like VHS series. It's called Death at My Feet. All right. And
explain to the listeners what a VHS is.
Yeah, so VHS, for those of you that are under the age of 30, it's like a CD. It does the same stuff, but it rewinds this tape type thing. You can find them in your local museums or your grandpa's house. Your grandpa's definitely got one of those, which is funny. My father-in-law, he's got a bunch of old things on VHS that he likes, and I actually ended up getting him a VCR at one point, and it was just like it was fucking expensive, man. Like, they're so old at this point where they cost too much money to really buy.
It's fascinating. It's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, we used to have these stores where we would go, and they'd have walls of these things, and you'd walk around there, and you'd pick them out, you'd take them home. It's a crazy concept for kids. But anyhow, we're walking around, and one of my buddies was really into these tapes. They're called Death at My Feet. There's also this Faces of Death series, which is fucking crazy. It's just like tapes of people fucking dying.
Jesus.
Yes, stay away from those. But Death at My Feet is this, I don't know, I think he's this redneck guy. He's probably a redneck, right? At least he's got some redneck in him. That's the shit that he's doing. And he basically goes to Africa and he kills a bunch of gigantic game. But he got this gun. I don't know why I remember this, but it's a 600 grain Nitro Express. So it's like this giant fucking elephant gun. But
is it the same gun that they use in Tremors to shoot the giant worm?
I don't know. I mean, it's been a long time since I've seen Tremors. Aren't there like 9 Tremors movies as well? For whatever
I don't know,
reason.
man, but you got to do the research, bro. You should know that shit right off the top of your head, dude. That's a classic. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
I've let you down. I've let the listeners down. I apologize for that, everybody. But this Death at My Feet thing, what he did was basically... he was a human version. I don't know if that's where South Park got it from, but that whole thing, like, it's coming straight for us. You just scream out, he's coming straight for us before you shoot it, then you're good to go. But he was like, he would never like shoot one of these. He shot a lot of water buffalo, and then maybe like a rhino.
Those are huge.
Yeah, they're
man.
gigantic. But he would not shoot them until they charged him. Right, so he would.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, so he would wait until they charged him, and then he would take this gigantic elephant gun and just like put him down. But
God.
you know, that's kind of what Bomani Jones has been doing to all the people that have been fucking hating on him on Twitter. He's been putting them down with the 600 grain Nitro Express, calling people dorks. But anyhow, so these giant fucking cows. And one of the things that they got me thinking about is how big of a shit like his Knickers taken. I mean, that thing is fucking huge. So I wonder how big of a turd that steer is laying down.
It's almost double in height compared to like an average cow. And like an average man is probably around the same height as a cow, right? I don't know. I don't think I've ever even been next to a fucking cow now that I'm thinking about it.
No, I think they're maybe like 4 feet tall, like 4 to 5, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. We don't live on a farm. All right. If you live on a farm, text us, let us know how, or we could Google it, I guess. I mean,
just Google it, listeners. Google this thing. It's called Knickers the Steer, and it's essentially just a delicious looking, just like this delicious looking
so
cow.
Delicious.
I don't know. It looks good. I don't know. And I don't know, man. He's probably got a great personality, but if I was starving, I mean, I'll find a way to eat him. Find a way.
He can feed a village, man. He can feed a whole village. But what got me thinking about was, we can't get through a podcast without having a poop or pee story. And well, here it is for you, everybody. I'm about to give it to you for this podcast.
I'm excited.
They reminded me of the biggest fucking turd that I've ever seen. All right. So when I was in the Marine Corps, we went to boot camp. When you get out of boot camp, so I was in the infantry. When you get out of boot camp, you go to a thing. It's called SOI, the School of Infantry. And all along the way, you think like, all right, cool, man. Now that we're done with boot camp, we're going to start to get some respect, man. People are going to treat us better. And then you get to SOI, and you realize that was all bullshit, that you're basically at that point still being treated like a recruit. Like you're not even really a human being, like you're not even really a person. But instead of doing a bunch of stupid shit, you're actually learning how to do your job, you learn how to kill people, and it's a little bit more engaging. Plus, you get the weekends off, people leave you alone at night. It's a good thing. But we talked a little bit about MREs on a recent episode. And so meals ready to eat, that's what you eat when you're out in the field, when you're out doing stuff. And they're notorious for giving you a bit of a backup, all right? And at a certain point, we were in our squad bay. We'd come back from the field, and we're all kind of, it's late at night. We're milling about, and I hear some guy going, bro, you got to fucking check this out, man. You got to fucking see the size of this turd. All right, here I'm talking to one guy, and they walk down the hallway, and then you hear this fucking line of people being like, "Whoa, holy shit!" Like, "Whoa, oh my god!" And then the next guy comes back in, and he's like, "Dude, you got to see the size of this thing. Like, you have got to see the size of this thing." And I'm a big guy. I'm 6'3". I'm 210, 215 pounds. And so I've got a relatively big forearms, and from like forearm to the end of my knuckled fist is probably about 14 inches. And I don't know, 3 inches in diameter. It's fucking, as a relative sort of size. I got a monster can sitting next to me. This turd was the size of 2 monster cans stacked on top of each other.
It's amazing.
And what had happened was, and it was one solid piece. So it was one gigantic piece. And when I saw this thing, my first reaction was the same as everybody else's, to go get the next guy and be like, dude, you got to fucking see the size of this turd. Because what happened is whoever did this, God bless the person that this happened to. Because I don't know how the fuck they were walking around afterwards. Because that fucking thing would blow the normal man's asshole to absolute shreds. Like, to absolute shreds. That thing's like passing a kidney stone. It's got to be painful to get that out of your body. But what's interesting, because the thing is like, it was so big that, you know, if you flush the toilet, like it would lay in the water in the toilet. But when someone would flush the toilet, so when I was in there, someone was like, hey, check this out. They flushed the toilet, and the water would go down, but the turd wouldn't move because it was like suspended against the sides of the toilet. It was like that. It was that big. So
amazing.
One of the sergeants who's training comes out and starts screaming at us. And apparently he's been in the duty hut and he has heard this endless string of fucking PFCs running back and forth, exclaiming about this gigantic fucking turd. And he comes out and he's like, I swear to fucking God, if I hear one more motherfucker say, come check out this turd, I'm going to fuck you guys up. Right? So he just screams at us, like, get the fuck out of here. And then he goes in and he sees it. And then the next thing I fucking hear him say is to another one of the sergeants is, hey, man, you got to come check out the size of this turd. You gotta come check this thing out. And then the other guy came and checked it out, and then he gave somebody orders to like chop it up and get rid of it, or however you get rid of those things. But someone had to go in there and chop that thing up and get it flushed.
That's fascinating. I wish I was there, dude. I was just like, I have this image in my head of this giant, this monster. Did you guys name it? Is it?
No, but that's what comes into my mind whenever I watch that Randy Marsh where he's just pounding PF Changs and taking 9 Keurig turds and trying to beat Bono, but then turns out, hey, Bono's actually the
spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert for those of you who haven't seen South Park. This episode's like 15 years old. Get over yourselves, people.